Yes, I'm starting right now. I was like, I should have already done it.
I forget to record sometimes too. And I'm always so thankful when someone reminds me, because if I get to the end and I haven't, I'm like, oh my goodness, now I have to do that all over again. So anyway, I'm excited to be here. I love Kim, and she did a great call for our team that people are still talking about, raving about, and that I still refer to. So I appreciate it, and love pouring back into you guys. And I know it's a little bit late for many of you because you're on East Coast time. So I'll try to keep it interesting. I'll try to keep you guys awake. I'll try to fire you up, but still help you be able to go to sleep tonight. But I am a mom of 6 kids. My kids are between the ages of 4 and 15. And I started my Plexus business 6.5 years ago, right after the birth of my 5th child. I did not start for the business. I wasn't looking for a business. I started for the health benefits because I was really struggling. I had been someone that had had postpartum depression on and off, and really bad postpartum depression after my 4th baby. And I was going to be done having kids. I was totally done. I had only ever had a vision of having 4 boys. I'd actually had a dream before we even ever had kids, and there were 4 boys fishing with their dad. And so I was like, great, I had my 4 boys. I'm totally done. And this is horrible. And I'm in just such a bad place. But a few years later, my heart was softened, and I had this inspiration and revelation that we were supposed to have another child. And I really didn't necessarily want to have another child. But I told my husband, and he definitely wasn't excited about the idea because he had to live through the postpartum. And has anybody here had postpartum depression, like legitimate postpartum depression? It's hard for you, but it's also hard for your partner. And they miss their wife and they miss their partner, and like they just want their wife back. And so I think he was really nervous about it. But after 6 months, I never pushed him on it. I wasn't that kind of wife, like, come on, come on, come on, or let me trick you or whatever. I don't believe in that. But 6 months later, I'd come out of that dark hole of postpartum depression, and he was like, okay, I think you're right. And so I got pregnant with Lily. And that's the biggest gap I have. My first 4 were 2 years apart. And then I have about 3 years and 4 months between my 4th and my 5th, and then 2 years between my 5th and my 6th. But the reason I share that story is because I was totally closed to the idea of having more kids, except that I had that revelation that that was supposed to happen. And I persisted, in a very patient way. I knew that it was going to happen eventually, but I also remembered where I came from and what that experience was to go through postpartum depression. I was also exhausted all the time. I was drinking multiple Diet Cokes a day. I had huge sugar cravings because I didn't know back then, but I probably had really bad adrenal fatigue and my hormones were probably shot. And I was just exhausted trying to survive through the day. I had a lot of anxiety. I would like lose my temper with my kids and yell at them, and I hated being that kind of mom because you're supposed to love your kids and be so excited that they're here, but I literally, my nerves were shot, and my husband was working 80 hours a week, and so I was kind of single parenting, and all of this was going on. But we agreed there was another child for us. We had that child. I stepped away from nursing while I was pregnant with my 5th because I had lost my love for being a nurse. I realized it wasn't my calling anymore. I didn't want to do it. And I was only doing it out of fear that if I let it go, I wouldn't have like sort of like a fallback or something. Being a child of divorce, like you often want to fall back or something like to fall back on. But I had a moment of clarity where it was like, it is time to shut the door on that. So I shut the door on that in February. I gave birth to Lily in July. I joined Plexus in September. And my friend had been reaching out to me for a year and a half. And I was always a no, I'm not interested. I don't believe in supplements, or I ignored her messages for a year and a half. But it was the very act of getting pregnant and having Lily that humbled me sufficiently to be like, hey, maybe I need something, because I could start to feel myself going down that postpartum. And I was so afraid to go back to that place. I was willing to do anything. I also did not produce enough milk, and I'm a huge believer in breastfeeding. And if you can, great. If you can't, no judgment. But for me, that was really important. And I wasn't making enough milk. I was exhausted. She was really croupy, fussy, gassy. She was like the baby that would cry for an hour or two at night. And Anybody had a baby like that? I was like, oh my goodness, I've never had a baby like this. And it just brought me to my knees, to where one night I saw my friend post a tub of frozen breast milk. And I was like, all right, if that'll do it, fine, I'll try it. And so I messaged her, I signed up that night, and I didn't even wait for my products to come. I asked her if she had some stuff, and she did. I drove to her house the next day and I started on my products. And within about 7 to 10 days, I really did start to feel like a different person. I could get out of bed in the morning without hitting snooze on the alarm 10 times. I didn't ever fall into that postpartum depression or anxiety. I was able to exclusively nurse my daughter till 14 months, which I'd never been able to do. I started to sleep even though I was getting up to nurse throughout the night. Like, I could fall back asleep and I would wake up in the morning feeling like a human. My headaches went away in the morning. My Diet Coke addiction, 2, 3, 4 every day, I got rid of. My candy cabinet, I got rid of. Like, so many different things. And I was like, honestly shocked, because I was so adamant against supplements as a former fitness trainer and instructor and nurse. I have 2 degrees in health, and I thought all this stuff was hogwash. But sometimes it's those like struggles that we have. And I think you guys will agree that like bring us to our knees and make us open to try something. And that was my story. I was finally open because I was in such a bad place. And so 10 days in, I was sharing with my friend my results. And she's like, you should put a post up. And I was like, I just kind of laughed inside, because you guys, I had 150 Facebook friends, and I was not an influencer in any way, shape, or form. I did not post regularly on Facebook. I was not on Instagram. And I didn't have a lot of friends. If you've ever struggled with anxiety or depression and you have kids, you know, it can be very isolating. And so I was actually really quite isolated. I did have those 150 Facebook friends, and I just decided, okay, well, what the heck? I'll just put a post up. And so there's this post with me coming back from the gym after teaching a class with like my 7 or 8 week old on my hip and a pink drink in my hand. And I basically said, there's no way I should be feeling this good 8 weeks postpartum with my 5th baby. And I was just kind of being honest, like, as a mom with kids. And I was shocked because like 8 different people reached out to me that were like, what is that? Like, what are you doing? I'm struggling too. And that's where my business began. It just began, but from the challenge of my friend to put a post up, and me deciding, what the heck? Like, nobody's going to see it anyways. Nobody's going to care, because I never post, and you just never know who's watching. So I signed all 8 of those people up without knowing what I was doing. They all became preferred customers, which, if you're new to the business, you don't even know what that is. But preferred customer is our old version of VIP customer. I didn't even know how to sign someone up as an ambassador. So I didn't go silver right away because I didn't know. And like a couple days later, my friend messages me. She's like, wow, you have 1,200 PV. That's amazing. How about we get you silver? And so I went silver in October. I joined in September. I went silver in October. I went gold in December, senior gold in January, ruby in February, senior ruby in March, emerald in April, sapphire in June, and diamond in September. So I went diamond about 11 to 12 months after I joined. And then from there, we just kept going. We were kind of steamrolling, and I re-entered in February. So diamond in September, re-entered in February, and I went diamond again a year and a half after that. So that's unique about our compensation plan, because you can go to the top and you can re-enter underneath yourself as a level. There we go. You can re-enter and start at the very bottom from silver and go all the way to diamond again. And so I did that before I built my husband to diamond. My husband was I think he was a ruby when I went diamond the first time. And I chose to just continue to kind of barrel through. I ended up hitting reentry fairly quickly, added some people there, and that leg really took off. So I just decided to keep my focus on that leg. And then once I did that, I came back around and we got him to diamond in June of 2020, which was about 4.5 years into the business. So in 4.5 years, we went diamond 3 times. It was crazy, and it was incredible, and it was hard, and it was also really miraculous. And so I'll be the first one to say that, I worked really hard, but also God's hand was really in my business. And I did my business the way that I felt like I needed to do my business at that time. I don't believe that everybody's story is to go really fast. I don't believe that everybody should take the same trajectory or should feel any pressure to build a business at any particular speed. So when I share my story and people are like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with me? Or wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. But that's just what I felt inspired that I was supposed to do. I felt like I was supposed to really dig in. I felt like I was really supposed to go for it, not necessarily for all the reasons that I didn't really understand all the reasons. Have you ever had an inspiration in your life where you're like, I don't really understand why I'm doing this or why I'm supposed to do this, but I just really feel like I'm supposed to do this? Anybody ever had an experience? Doesn't have to be plexus, but something else. Maybe it's like you feel like you're supposed to take dinner to a friend of yours, or you feel like you're supposed to go to this dinner, or you feel like you're supposed to do something and like you really don't want to, but you feel like you're supposed to, and you're a willing participant. Okay. So I was a willing participant in whatever God wanted me to do. That's like literally, I didn't decide like, oh, I want to build an empire in plexus. Like, I just wanted to be able to get out of bed. I just wanted to be able to stop screaming at my kids like a crazy woman. I just wanted to be able to, it also got rid of my baby's gas and colic, my Lily, and she became the most pleasant baby I ever had. That's another part of my testimonial. But I just really wanted to feel like myself. I didn't come to do a business, but once I knew I was supposed to do a business, which was a series of events, I didn't question it. And how often have you received a personal revelation or inspiration and questioned it and been like, well, but the kids, or well, but work, or well, I don't really like social media, or I don't really have the time for that, or I don't really want to do it. Do I really need to be doing that? Like, and you have this clear impression or this burning in your heart or this feeling, and you instinctively question it like right away, and you delay and you procrastinate. Stop doing that. Stop it. Like, you are getting in the way of not only your blessings, but other people's blessings. And so I did hit the ground running, and I had a newborn. And when I was going, through the process of, you know, uh, going double diamond, I got pregnant and I had another baby. Like, oh my goodness, talk about crazy. But I did it in the way that I felt like I was supposed to do it. And the number one tip I would give you is follow inspiration. Stop questioning, stop delaying, stop procrastinating, stop using your own wisdom or your own excuses or your own reasons why you can't do something, and be like, okay, well, if I'm supposed to do it, show me how. Show me how. I don't have the network. I didn't have the network. I didn't have the social media following. I didn't have any of those things, but I was a willing participant. Like, okay, this is how you learn how to use Facebook. Okay, I'll learn how to use Facebook. Okay, learn how to get on Instagram. Okay, this is how you use Instagram. Everything I had to learn from the beginning. I didn't even know how to tag somebody on Facebook. I remember a couple weeks in, my friend that signed me up, she was like, so I tagged you on some stuff, and she was telling me all along she was tagging me on stuff. And finally, after a couple of weeks, I was like, Amy, so I'm kind of embarrassed to tell you this, but I don't know what you mean when you say tag. What does that mean? So when I'm telling you I had to learn everything, I had to learn everything from the bottom to the top. But be a willing participant. If you feel inspired, it doesn't matter what is going on in your life. It doesn't matter what obstacles you have. It doesn't matter how hard it seems. It doesn't matter how unlikely it seems. It doesn't matter how much of an underdog you are. It doesn't matter how busy you are, how many kids you have, what you're doing for work. If you feel inspired, follow the prompting and just start acting. I love this quote by Gail Devers. She says, "Keep your dreams alive. Understanding to achieve anything requires faith and belief in yourself, vision, hard work, determination, and dedication. Remember, all things are possible for those who believe." All things are possible for those who believe. And of course, we believe that we have a loving Father in heaven, whatever that is for you. I believe, like, I have a loving Father in heaven. I believe that I have the ability to communicate through prayer and personal inspiration and revelation. And if he tells me to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And the reason I started building the business was because I went to an opportunity meeting that my sponsor invited me to. I had been on the products for 2 weeks. So I had just started to wake up, get myself back. I had this little baby, and there were two diamonds coming over from the Emerald Extravaganza trip. And Alec Clark was coming over to Kauai, and they were going to do a meeting. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you have to come. It's going to be amazing. The president, Alec Clark, is going to be there." And I was like, "I don't care. I don't know who he is." Like, it literally meant nothing to me, but she wanted me to come. And so I just wanted to be a good friend and support her. But man, it was an hour-long drive. I had to take a newborn baby, but I just wanted to be a good friend. And I took my baby in tow, nursed her in the back of the room, listened to everything, listened to her talk about her dreams for her family, her vision for her family, how she wanted to road school them, and how she wanted to bring her husband home. And she spoke with conviction, presence, and vision, which is one of the most powerful things you can do. She spoke that way, and it was fine. Like, the meeting was fine and everything. But I got in my car and I was driving home, and I remember this exact spot. I was driving up the hill by Kealia Beach, and literally this inspiration: "You're going to help Amy go diamond." And I wasn't even silver at the time. I was like, "What?" And then I was like, "Okay, I guess we're doing this." And that's how it all began. It was like this thought. Have you ever had a thought, something you were supposed to do in your business? Maybe it's to help your upline. Like, that was the initial thing that got me in the door. I'm a helper. I like to help people. And so that got me started. I didn't know all of the different reasons that would unfold for me doing this business. And you see, so often we want to know, well, why? Why am I doing this? What's it going to do for my life? How's it going to bless my family? Can you, God, can you just show me? Can you show me like, I just want to know, show me all the things. Is it going to be worth it? Is the outcome going to be worth it? Can you give me a guarantee if I do A, B, it's going to happen? And C and D and E and F? Like, can you show me everything? But that's not the way it works. It never works that way. And it's so crazy that we think it's going to work that way. I didn't know. The initial inspiration was, "You're going to help her go diamond." And I did. Within about 5 months, she was diamond. I was emerald. We all want guarantees. We all want security and certainty. It's a basic need, but guess what? Certainty doesn't exist, right? And so I got to work doing that. And then several months in to my business, I realized and I understood that I was given this business for other reasons as well. I was given this business to rescue my family. I was given this business to rescue my husband. I was given this business to help my children have a different experience. I didn't start this business to help my husband stop working as an ER doctor. I didn't start this business to even have him pull back from his 80-hour weeks. That was not even on my radar. But as I started to build my business and I started to see, like, the wear and tear that his work was doing, on his body and on his mind, and really actually getting to some very, very low points in his career and in his mental health from all the stress of working for years and years and years, from the time he was 11, having a job, buying his own kids, being a valedictorian of med school, going to residency, working like 12-hour shifts in a row, getting out of residency, working 3 jobs at 3 different hospitals to support our family. And you know what I used to do sometimes? It's kind of embarrassing to say this, but I think if you're honest, you could probably say that maybe you've done this as well, is I used to complain that he wasn't home helping me with the kids, and that I was doing all this on my own. And I used to complain, and I used to be so frustrated And I would like be sitting on the couch watching TV, pissed off that he was at work. Do you think he really wanted to be at work? 3 jobs to support our family in Hawaii and all these babies that I was having? He didn't want to do it, but he's a good man and he's a provider and he'll do whatever he has to do. And so he did it without complaining. And I had this moment where I was like, I can either sit here on the couch and complain about that, or I can do something about it, because God has given me a vehicle to change the future of our family, the trajectory of our family, my children's relationship with my husband, with their father. They can actually know their dad. They can have a closeness to their dad. He can take care of himself. He can explore his dreams. He can get out of this rat race of working 80 hours a week. I can do something about it. I can provide that vessel or that vehicle. I'm not going to be a woman that sits around and gets my nails done and complains about my husband never being home. Like it was like, I felt really convicted, very convicted. And so I got to work, obviously working really hard. And I did work a lot. I worked too much for a period of time. But you already know this about me. When I feel convicted to change, I change. When I feel convicted to do something different, I do something different. I say with 100% honesty, I don't regret anything I did in my business. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret working really hard in the beginning. And there's a lot of good lessons that came from that. I don't work the way that I used to work. And there's a lot of reasons why I decided to work that hard. Part of it is because I knew I needed to get my husband out of all this that he was doing. And I knew that for him to be able to feel comfortable to pull back growing up in scarcity, that I was going to have to make a significant amount of money. And so I really wanted to get to that amount of money, so that he could pull back. So I had my reasons. That doesn't mean you have to do it that way, but it might mean that you do it that way, right? We all have that inspiration and that pull and that push to do what we need to do. That was mine. And so I was on my own all day, every day, because he was at work. I was having babies, nursing babies, leading Zoom calls, responding to messages. I had a team in full blown momentum. And some of the tips that I will give you for this, if this happens to you, is communicate well with your children. Communicate well with your children. And in the beginning, I didn't. So they didn't know, like, why is mommy working? Like, why is she doing all this? Like, they didn't understand it. And a lot of mom guilt and shame comes because of lack of communication. And they're sad and they don't know what's happening. And you're trying to hide the fact that you're working and you're hiding in the bathroom or hiding in the closet, or you know what I mean? Like you're just like on your phone doing this stuff and it's not on the open. You're trying to hide it and you're not having open communication. And so after doing that for a few months and feeling incredibly guilty and incredibly shameful and having a lot of mom guilt, and it really honestly wasn't working, I decided to just talk to my kids about it. And they were not old, you guys. My oldest son was
Maddie, why are you awake?
9 when I started the business. And my youngest one was obviously newborn, but the boys were between the ages of 3 and 9. And so I started to communicate. There we go. I just unmuted myself and let them know, hey, mommy has a Zoom call from this time to this time. I'm going to be on that Zoom call. And anytime they'd be like, mommy, I want you to do this, or mommy, I want you to do that, I would be honest with them and I would say, I can do that in 1 hour. In 1 hour, we can sit down and read books, or in 1 hour, we can sit down and play a game. And I would keep my word. I would keep my word. And that's really important. And that helped me to let go of mom guilt. But the second thing I would do is I would talk to them about why mommy was working. Okay. For me, in my case, it was because I wanted them to have more time with dad. I wanted dad to be home more. And we would talk about that and how, like, hey, if dad is home, you can do more things with dad. You can go ride bikes with dad. You can go to the beach with dad. Dad will be here at bedtime. And I painted this vision because, like, literally, if you don't have vision, you lack everything. right? If you don't have vision, you're living in hell. And it was really like trying to do this business without my kids really noticing and hiding things and not communicating with them was really miserable. So when I started to communicate them and say, this is why mommy is going to sit down right here while you do your homeschool next to me. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do my school and I'm going to do my work and I'm going to be right here with you. And I'm doing this because I want daddy to be home. And I'd say, do you guys want daddy to be home? And I got them invested in this vision that dad was going to be home. And at first, they fought me a little bit on it because I honestly was the mom that did everything for my kids, everything, including wiping their butts until they were 5. Okay. Like I did everything, all the laundry, put all their clothes away, made all their beds, made all the food, loaded the dishwasher, cleaned up all the toys. I did everything. And so when I started working, that had to change a little bit. I had to teach them how to fold the laundry and I had to teach them how to put their clothes away and do the 5-minute cleanup. We call it the 5-minute cleanup. I had to teach them how to do the 5-minute cleanup. And then when my kids were a little older, I taught them how to load the dishwasher. And in the beginning, there was a little bit of resistance. But you know what happened over time is that the older kids, they understood. They started to see more of what we wanted in our family. And so if a younger one would complain, the older one would be like, well, mom's building this awesome business so dad can be home more with us. And you know how dad's not working every weekend? That's because mom has his business. And so then the older kids were investing the younger kids to where nobody complains about what I do anymore. Like they're just thankful, they're grateful. And I'm raising human beings that know how to contribute and know how to work together as a team. And everybody has their jobs. I have one son that likes to do the dishes, one son that does all the sweeping. Like they all have their different jobs. I never do the dishes. I don't ever sweep. I don't have to fold laundry if I don't want to. Today I chose to because sometimes I like to. It's just therapeutic. But I am training up these young human beings that know how to help and contribute and don't feel entitled. And it happened because I was willing to go through the uncomfortable of communicating. And I was willing to go through the uncomfortable of maybe disappointing somebody, disappointing my kids temporarily for the greater good. And I was willing to go ahead and feel those feelings of discomfort and sometimes shame and sometimes mom guilt and still push through and be like, but I know why I'm doing this and I know what I've been told. And so I have to do it. And I can either do it in secrecy and suffer, or I can communicate with my children and I can communicate with my husband. And so, as I was growing my business and as my kids were getting old, they gradually started to help with more things. I also realized, you know what? I need to have some boundaries. I need to have some boundaries. I can't be on my phone all the time. I need to go on a date with my husband once a week. That's one of my like business tips, or when I'm coaching somebody in my business, if they're struggling in their marriage, or I had somebody, message me that was supposed to come to our Ruby retreat and her husband was all of a sudden like changing his story. And I said, you understand it's actually not about Ruby Retreat, right? Or you understand it's actually not about Plexus, right? Because any complaint you get in your household is not actually about Plexus. It's just that people want your affection, your love, and your attention. And if you're not giving them affection, love, and attention, even if it's 30 minutes a day, they're going to be starving for that and they're going to act out. And the way that they act out is they act out on attacking your business, attacking what you're doing. And then, of course, that starts the guilt and shame cycle where then maybe you pull back, but then you're resentful because you feel like you had to pull back because of your spouse. And it's just this nasty, unhealthy cycle. Instead of being like, oh, what are they actually afraid of? Oh, they're afraid they're losing me. They're afraid they're not going to have that connection with me or that attention. And so I started to be more proactive when I would notice like, there's some things that are a little bit off. Oh, we definitely need to get back into our dates. We need to take our dates every single week. And I got to find a babysitter and get creative about that. I need to have family hours. Family hours are like dinner time, scripture time, bedtime, hot tub time, that kind of time. That's like, this is our time as a family, and I'm not available to do calls. And maybe your family hours are different. In the beginning, I would start working early in the morning and I'd be like responding to messages. You guys, it was messy. Like, I'm not afraid to share the messy because, again, I don't have shame or regret anything. But I would be doing this while trying to get my kids ready for school. And I realized, oh my goodness, that's not good. My attention needs to be on my kids. Like, when they first get up, I need to be present, making them breakfast. So I made that adjustment. It's not about guilting yourself or shaming yourself. It's just making these little adjustments to where, okay, in the morning, and even to this day, I go work out in the morning. I come home, I'm in the kitchen for about an hour. We're talking, we're making food, we're spending time together. That's technically family time. That's not work time. So setting family hours as opposed to business hours. And that's going to be different for everyone based on the stage of life that your kids are in, or if they're in school or homeschooled or whatever that is. But set some specific family hours where your family knows they can rely on you to be present, and plug your phone in the bathroom or in a different room. Have a date night with your spouse. I promise you, if your spouse is feeling like they're getting attention and like you are still there for them, they'll support your business. Okay. Maybe in the beginning, they'll have some resistance. Mine did. But once I turned to giving him specific attention on a regular basis, going on a date, going on a walk outside, we walk almost every day. We take a walk together and we just talk. We're not on our phones. Once I did that, it was like whatever I wanted to do and however he could support me. So those were or three things, I guess: communicating with my kids, having family hours, having a date night with my husband, every single week. Those are the things that helped me to continue to grow my business, to not shrink or play small, to not have any kind of resentment in my relationship or my situation, because I was being honest about what I knew I needed to do, why I was doing it. And at the same time, I was committing to my family. I'm committed to you. These hours are yours. We also do family date nights. We do a family date night every week, like where maybe it's just movie night and popcorn at home, or sometimes it might be going out to some place that we want to go to, but we do a family date night so they know I'm committed to them, and it's not just about work. It's not just about the business. So those are some things that I've done along the way to help grow my business and keep a good, strong marriage and a good focus on my family. A lot of people think that if they are going to go all in with the business, it means they're taking their focus away from the family. And they're terrified of that because maybe you waited a long time to have a family, or it was really hard to have a family, or family and faith are so important to you. It's like so important to you, the very most important thing. And you struggle with feeling like this is a competing interest, and you only see it as a competing interest or a distraction from your family, or something that's going to harm your family or harm your marriage. It's really this I call it like basically having the syndrome where you don't believe you can have it all, right? It's like one or the other. I can either have a great marriage or make $1 million. I can either have happy, well-adjusted kids or have a really successful plexus business. I can either be strong in my faith and spiritually strong, or financially well off. Anybody ever struggle with that? Maybe you're in that place right now and you feel like it's just really not possible to have it all. Like something has to give, and my family's going to suffer if I do any more, or my health is going to suffer. Does that resonate with anybody? Kim says she still struggles with it. Okay. I just want to invite you to shift your mindset on this. And I want to invite you to write yourself. You can write yourself a letter, you can journal on this, or you can take some time to really think about it. And I want to invite you to think about how your posterity and your family and your children and their children and their children will be blessed because of many different things. Number one, when you grow and you develop and you deepen your faith and you increase your courage and you learn how to show up and be present and conquer fears, and your family gets to see that, they get to see a righteous, good woman developing and overcoming fears and growing her faith. And that is a powerful blessing to your family. It doesn't take from your family, it adds to your family. See, what you see as taking away from your family, I see as adding to your family. Your success means that your family is a benefactor of your success, and not just financially, but in what they watch you overcome. And so I'm a huge fan in letting your kids see you cry, letting your kids see you be frustrated, letting your kids listen in while you're pouring into someone and coaching them and blessing them. I recently had the opportunity to be in Portugal and to earn a shopping spree. My kids got to see me buy something really extravagant for somebody on my team that does not really see herself as a queen and as magnificent as she is. And I told them the story. I tell my kids all the stories. I tell them stories about people in my business. I want them to know why I'm doing this. I want them to know that my work has purpose and that my purpose is not just to make money. My purpose is to elevate families and women and help people in their lives to better their lives, to improve their lives. That my business is not just my business is God's work. They get to see that. It does not take anything from my motherhood. It does not take anything from me being a wife. It only adds to my family. It doesn't add anything if I don't share with them. If I'm not talking about what's happening, if I'm not talking about how people's lives are changing, how their health is changing, how their finances are changing, how they were able to get out of this bad circumstance. If I don't tell them about that stuff, yeah, it feels like mom's work is just taking her away from the family for no reason except for money. But when my kids get to see the purpose of my work and they get to be involved in it, and they get to help in various ways, they feel like they're a part of it and they understand that it's for a purpose. And I'm hoping that I'm teaching them to serve and to give and to grow and to develop. And here is a manifestation of that. I spent my first few years in the business really struggling hard with this. I understand you, Kim. I understand what you're feeling, Kelly and Emma and Valerie. I understand it, but I am asking you to entertain the idea that quite possibly you're wrong. Quite possibly you're wrong. And what you are brave enough to do is going to change your family for generations to come. My kids, because we've been fearless, and I've had a lot of fears. I shouldn't even say fearless. I've had a lot of fears, but I've pushed through. I've communicated a lot. I've asked them to step up. I've asked them to participate and be a part of the team and help. And they know what this work is all about. You know, my kids, if you ever watch any of my stuff, they're exceptional human beings. They're respectful. They're hardworking. My 15-year-old's graduating from high school. He's going to start getting his degree from Purdue this summer. My 14-year-old is going to just take his GED test and he'll have his associate's degree in college this summer. My kids are so helpful in the house, outside of the house. When we go to visit somebody else, like we will go, sometimes I'll go a couple hours to another team member's house and do a sip and share or a training or whatever. I got to bring my kids with me, right? Like I'll bring my kids with me. Guess what my kids do? They go into her house, they start doing her dishes. They start sweeping her floor. They start serving her. I'm sorry. How am I hurting my children? How is that hurting my children? In any definition, how is that hurting my children? I'm teaching them how to be good men and how to be good women and how to serve and how to not be entitled and how to, love and give love. 1000% guarantee. If I hadn't decided to do this business and I only stuck with being a stay-at-home mom, I'd still be doing everything for my kids and they'd be complaining. They'd be entitled. I would still be doing everything for my kids. Doing everything for your kids and giving all of your attention to your kids all the time is not helping them. Yes, giving them focused attention, giving them intentional attention, looking at them in the eyes, making memories, like those things are so important, but it doesn't have to be the totality of your day. It does not have to be the totality of your day. And so I look over at what is happening in my family, in my house, and I have seen that it has been necessary. And it was hard to make that change because, one of the things that I realized, and this will maybe be one of the last messages I'll give, is that me wanting things to stay exactly the same and not be uncomfortable and maybe staying in totally traditional roles, me wanting to do that and to be comfortable was actually really selfish because I never for once thought about what my husband would want or what my kids would want or what his dreams might be. I never ever once thought about what he wanted. I just expected him to go out and work and work and work and work. I never once thought, gosh, would he want to make memories with the kids? Instead, I would think about, like, oh my goodness, if I work too hard or if I go to this thing, I might miss this for the kids. I never once thought about how he would miss things, how he wouldn't go to the school thing, or he would miss a birthday because he'd be at work, or he wouldn't get to go to the school play, or he wouldn't get to do this and that. And then one day it dawned on me, like, oh my goodness, I have given my family and my kids the greatest gift. I've given them time with their father. I've given them time as a whole family, and I would do it all over again. I do all the messy, I do all the working too much. I would do all of it because, hello, when I get the prompting and I know I need to change, I change, right? When you get the prompting and you know you need to change, you change. But don't shame yourself, don't guilt yourself, don't beat yourself up. If you know you're doing this for a purpose and a reason, you want to bless your family, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. There's going to be challenges. It's going to be messy. You're going to have to communicate. Your kids might complain sometimes. Your husband might complain sometimes. Don't go in your bedroom and cry and stop working your business for a week. Instead, ask yourself, I wonder what that's really all about. You know what? I need to go on a date with my husband. Or, you know what? We need to go on a walk and just spend some time together. Or, you know what? We need to just have a family movie night. Like, literally, don't just put the brakes on what you know you're supposed to do. That's called avoidance. That's called avoidance. Instead, ask yourself, what's really behind this fear? What's really behind this reaction? What's really behind it is, I need to make a couple of adjustments. I don't need to completely stop. I just need to make a few adjustments. And that's all I've done over the last 4.5 years. My first 2 years were wild and crazy and whatever. And the last 4.5 years have just been this process of tweaking a little bit at a time. Okay, I need to make a little adjustment here. No problem. I don't go in the bedroom and cry and freak out that I'm destroying my kids because I stop and I'm like, wait a second. What kind of young men am I raising? Okay, what are they doing? My oldest son gets out his Bible, reads it by himself. Like, nobody's dying here. Everyone's okay. Everyone's fine. The kids are fine. It's okay. If your heart is in the right place, you're doing the work for the right place, you're following the impression, you know you need to make a change for the family, you need to do it. And you have to stop expecting that it's going to be easy and there's not going to be any pain associated with it. And there's not going to be any discomfort associated with it. The way that we grow, the way that we learn, the way that we change is discomfort and pain. That's how we change. That's how we learn to deepen our faith and rely on powers outside of ourselves to help us get to where we need to be. But it's not going to be easy peasy. It's going to be difficult. What did you say, Kim? I got to read this. Yes, I think many Christians struggle with that because we're often taught to focus on the work we are doing within our homes first and foremost. So then what we need to do is we need to redefine what that is and what that looks like. Because what you've done is you've created a definition that's like, okay, well, to be a good mom means I make fresh bread every day and I read to my kids for 2 hours. And it's just a definition problem, right? So I definitely believe in spending time and spending quality time. I'm not one of those that's like, I don't care what my husband thinks. I don't care what my children, like, that is not me at all. Okay. I'm very sensitive to their needs, but I also have this firm foundation where I understand that my impact as a mother that has a strong testimony of Jesus Christ, that is very grounded in my faith, that is very faithful, like as a woman, is that I cannot afford to fold just because it's uncomfortable and my kids complain. I cannot afford to fold and pull back on what I need to do. I need to redefine what it looks like to be a good mother. And for everybody, that's going to be different. I'm not going to tell you what it means to be a good mother, and I'm not going to judge how you parent or what you do, and you're not going to judge what I do. All I'm going to say is that the fruits of your labor will be good if you stand strong and you're faithful in believing I can have it all. And the reason I can have it all is because I have a God that knows how to show me how to do it all. I have a God that can multiply my efforts. I have a God that I can say, hey, I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how this is going to happen, but I need you to send me really good people. And in the meantime, I'm going to create the systems, and I'm going to pick up the shovel, and I'm going to dig the hole, and I'm going to create it and have everything in place so that when you're ready to rain down on me, it's going to be there. I'm not just going to sit on my knees and pray. I'm going to like pray, but I'm going to work, and I'm going to put things in place. And I'm going to have such deep faith that I'm going to believe that you can just magnify this and explode it. And it doesn't have to come at the expense of my family. It doesn't have to come at the expense of my children. I understand that you want to be present. I understand that you want to be a good mother. I understand that you want to have a happy home and a healthy home. That's the whole reason I created Align, is because I feel like you can have success, you can have fitness, you can have health, you can have a passionate relationship, you can have healthy children. Like, I believe that you can have all of those things if your life is in alignment. And alignment does not mean balance. Alignment means that you are aware that at sometimes there are going to be busy seasons in one area of your life, and in other times there are going to be busy seasons in other areas. So there are areas of my life throughout the year where it's a real busy season in my business, but it's not all the time. Ask yourself, is it a problem or is it a season? If it's a problem, it's something that you're doing because you're hustling for your worth, you're avoiding problems in your marriage or in your home, you are trying to get external recognition or praise from people in plexus or whatever it is. That's a problem. A season is when you've been blessed with the fruits of your labor, and God is just raining down on you, and it is just a season. And the worst thing you can do in that season is say, no, God, I don't want it. Sorry, I'm not going to show up for it. Oh, no, 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 no. I mean, we're going to have like pasta and meatballs for the third night in a row. Nope, can't do it. I'm a bad mom if I do that. And he's like, wait a second, I'm raining on you. Like, I picture a Father in heaven just like being so excited when you are all in and you're like, okay, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I picture him up there, like with all the angels being like, I got a player. Yes. And he's just like so excited to work with you and so excited to run with you. And they're like, woo, we got a player. Like, that's what I picture. And like, I want to be a player. I want to play full out. And I want with all of my being to believe that I am not limited because I am a mother. I am powerful because I am a mother. Because I am a mother, I know how to nurture, I know how to create, and I know how to do a lot of things. And I am not going to use motherhood as an excuse, because I feel like that's an offense to God. I feel like it's an offense to God, because that's like me saying like, hey, you're not big enough for me to be a mom and for me to be a positive impact of light and hope in the world. And I believe so much so that the world needs more light, that the world needs more hope, that the world needs more good women shining, that the world needs more good women that are millionaires, that the world needs more good women that have influence, that are out there doing good in the world, and that we need to gather in all the good women in the world for strength. Like, yes, you're supposed to be a great mother, but mothering is also mothering other people. Mothering these women that come into your business that don't have confidence, that don't have finances, that don't have the comfort that you have. Like, can we expand our definition of mothering? I'm mothering a lot of people right now. And gosh dang it, I love my humans and I'm mothering them. But I know that I am playing small with what God has given me if I think that's all I can do. That's a lie from the pit of hell. That's what I got to say about that. And so I don't know what you got out of that, but I was just feeling convicted to share that. Is like, listen, it's going to be messy. Pray for inspiration. Follow the inspiration. If there's a problem in your house, you're feeling guilt, you're feeling shame, somebody's reacting, ask what's really behind that. What does that person need? Or what are they afraid of? People act out when they have fear. And then make a small change. Focus a little bit of attention there. Explain to your kids in 1 hour after nap time and stick with that promise. If you stick with your promises, even if you have a busy season and you've got to work a lot, you stick with those promises, they'll trust you, they'll understand, and they'll give you that grace to be in that busy season. So I hope that blessed you. I know it's super late for you guys. Any questions?
Brooke, that was amazing. I mean, amazing. I know it spoke to a lot of people because I've been looking at all the comments. And I mean, every word, you know, you never know when you're running a call, like, and you saw, like, did that even? And like, God just always shows up and uses it. Does anybody have any questions for Brooke? Like, feel free to unmute yourself before we hop off. It's obviously it's a great opportunity to have her on here. And I know I certainly have a question if nobody else does, but I would love to have you guys get those questions out first if you do.
Can I ask a question, Kim?
Yes, Katie, go ahead.
Okay. And I know maybe you had already kind of alluded to this. I think self-doubt comes out, and obviously it's part of working through, it's part of that self-growth process that is part of Plexus, and it's such a wonderful part of it. And I think it sounds like you are an incredible woman of faith, Brooke, and probably spend a lot of time in prayer and just asking God to kind of help you navigate that self-doubt. But what are some things that you did otherwise to kind of help overcome those moments where you were asking, is it working? How do I get through this?
Yeah.
And going through those motions.
So yeah, I actually didn't have a lot of confidence. My older sister always had a lot of confidence, and I never had confidence growing up. And so this was something that was a challenge for me to like step out and do something like this and go live and do calls and things like that. And I had a lot of mindset issues, and I'm not somebody that like thought I was the best thing since sliced bread, like at all. And so what I had to do to combat that is obviously the things that you were talking about with faith and trusting the Lord, but also I really had to put good in every single day. I was like the person like religiously, like every single Les Brown video there is, like I've listened to it, every single like John Maxwell, like podcast that would like lift me up. I have like Joel Osteen like in my ears, and like, you know, all like Red Rocks worship, and like I listen to all kinds of stuff, you guys, but like I had to incessantly listen to that. And I remember so many times, like I even very clearly remember when I was pregnant with my sixth, and I was up for, you know, winning Mushaki against like Celeste Gwen's team, which is like 75% of the company. And I had this little baby team, and it was like, I don't know how, but I feel like I'm supposed to win this thing. And every day, like the opposition was against me, and doubt, and like, how is this even going to happen? And I would go out and take a walk, and I'd put something in my ears, and I would cry. And I would just cry all that doubt out of me, and just like, but I had to put the good in to overcome the bad. And so if you're not listening to books on Audible, if you're not listening to podcasts, if you're not listening to some of these greats in personal development, like literally start just going from video to video to video to reprogram your brain and to start thinking differently about yourself and what's possible for you. I think if you put enough good in, you get to push that bad out. And that's literally what I did for 3 years straight. And every day, almost every day, I'm not as good about it every single day, but almost every single day, I'm reading something or listening to something, because I still struggle with this. This is my weakness, but God gives us weaknesses so that they can be used for our good. So don't hate your doubt. Don't hate your anxiety. Don't hate your fears. Love them, because they're there to teach you a lesson and to help you to develop the strength and the faith that you need to, if you're willing to take action. So I was willing to listen to something every single day and put that good in so that I could change my thoughts and the way that I saw myself.
Good.
I always recommend everybody listen to Les Brown's 14-part series on YouTube. It's like 14 different short videos if you want a place to start.
Thank you, Brooke. Does anybody else, Katie? I hope that was helpful. I'm sure it was. Anybody else have a question for Brooke?
Hey, Brooke, I'm Patty Grubb. It's
Hi,
so great
Patty.
to have you on this call. You're so amazing. I love your spirit.
Thank you.
I'm one of the older, I might say, in age numbers only, my heart and soul on this team. And any
Can I ask
advice
you how
for
old you are?
any advice for someone over 50? Do help grow their business and they're
Yeah.
getting encouragement because my kids are grown now. I do
Yeah.
have grandchildren, and the mothering of people, I really get that because I mother everybody. Ask Kim, she'll tell you.
Yeah.
But
So-
advice for older women going into this business.
So the first thing is to stop telling yourself you're too old.
Yeah.
Like you have to stop even telling yourself that. I have a 55-year-old Emerald on my team, and she has 7 daughters. And the last one's still at home, but she's 55 and she's an Emerald. And the way that she built her business is, I mean, the beautiful thing about being in your 50s and the benefit that you have that many of us don't have is you have these lifelong relationships, and you've developed and nurtured really good relationships with people. And so I think the first thing is just dropping that story, because when you drop that story, you're going to drop 1,000-pound weight. The second thing is understanding I really have an advantage here. I have a superpower. I have all these relationships that I've developed, and all these women in their 50s and 40s and 60s, they need these products more than anybody. They're starting to have chronic health issues. And so I think for someone in your age range, a lot of times the physical gatherings are really popular. Like have lunches. They don't have to be big sip and sees, but I was doing a training for my Ohana Jewel School today where I was like, hey, a sip and share doesn't have to be like a whole big thing. Like, what if you invited 3 or 4 of your girlfriends to come to lunch and you brought samples and you didn't spring it on them at lunch? You said, I'm going to bring some samples. I'm going to talk about some things that can help you in your 50s, 60s, whatever, with me, but I'd love to get together and have lunch. So doing like those physical kind of gatherings that are more relationship oriented, because I can tell you're big on relationships. So how can you gather people? Maybe they're not going to want to do things over Zoom or messenger parties or things that might feel more technical. Your superpower is probably going to be in gathering people together and then helping them gather people together. I had also a lady that was 50 go Emerald in like 5 months by doing this. She had every single Thursday night, she had a sip and share at her house. Same
Oh,
night,
wow.
same time. Women would come and she'd be like, next week, bring back your girlfriends. Next week, bring back your friends. And it just like grew and grew and grew. So
Wow.
maybe think about doing that. But the first step is like literally eliminating this story that you're telling yourself, which is I'm so much older than these other girls and I'm too old for this. Like I would die to be in my 50s and starting this business. So shifting it to, I hit the jackpot. This is the perfect time. I also feel like a lot of women in their 50s are going through a change where they're retiring and they're looking for purpose. So posting more about purpose, talking about purpose and this time of your life changing. There's also a lot of women, unfortunately, in their 50s that are now single or divorced, right? Maybe their husband got the younger wife syndrome. I don't know. Like things happen, right? And so there's also women that are looking for income, like purpose, friendships, like posting to that, because I feel like women in their 50s, like their kids are grown and now they want something to really sink into that'll give them purpose for the rest of their life.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
So good. Guys, does anybody else have anything? Brooke, I love how you were saying too, though, that like she could start hosting these sip and shares. And I think that would be great for her. But when we just focus on, it's almost like the symptom, right? Versus getting to the root. Like if she doesn't truly believe that she can do this business, then it doesn't really matter what action she takes. And that's where you said something in the call that I was like, man, that was me this morning in my time with God. And I messaged Chelsea, my sponsor, and I was like, Chelsea, like I just had a breakthrough, because I've been realizing the other day, she said something like, I feel like you still haven't like fully embraced plexus, that like, this is what you're doing. And I thought about it. I was like, so she's right, but she's wrong, but there's something there, because it isn't plexus. It isn't network marketing. Like for some people, that's the hang up, right? But for me, I have some really deep seated beliefs around what it looks like to be a good mom, like you were talking about, and needing to change that
me
definition.
too.
And I've
Me
become
too.
aware of that, and how much for me, because my mom died when I was young, that I'm like, well, I might only have until I'm 50. And so I've got to be super present now. And that it's actually not allowing me any freedom in my life. And then my kids actually aren't getting the joyful and the mom I want to be anyways. Right. So like,
Yeah.
it is hard to sit in that space, you said, though, because it's hard. And Chelsea knows right now, everything feels hard. And, you know, even me, like, right. Like I'm in the top, like 20, whatever the company, and I'm still sitting in the thick of the heart. It's hard. And I actually want to give up right now, because this is a big thing. It's shaking, but I have to
It's
sit.
shaking everything that you've
Yes.
believed and everything that you've decided is absolutely true. And it's like, whoa, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. It's like me, you know, growing up being taught like the man is the provider, the woman is the nurturer, she stays home. And as I was going through this, like I just had this revelation one day that was like, but what does it mean to provide? To provide love, to provide encouragement, to provide education, to provide support. Why have we defined provide as just money? Why are we so limited? And so that kind of blew it all open for me, is like, yes, like he is a provider, but he provides so much more value than just money. And I do too. And we're equal partners and helpmeets. So yeah, it's shaking that sort of foundation. And this is the hard, but like, you know, when it's really hard like this, for any of you that are watching it, you know, when it's really hard, that you're in the right place. It's just another level that you have to bust through, and some things that you have to learn. And the cool thing is you don't have to abandon it's like some people are like, I don't want to abandon my faith. I don't want to abandon. You're not abandoning those things. You just have a different understanding. I just have a different understanding for me. And it's okay if somebody else has a different understanding of what provide is. I'm not put on this earth for everybody to like everything about me and what I'm doing. I'm on this earth to really seek that understanding between me and God, and to have that relationship and that understanding of what I'm supposed to do and what provide means for our family. So
I love that. Guys,
Right.
before we hop up, everybody, I mean, please take a minute, just drop her some love in the comments and thank her so much. Brooke, if you wouldn't mind dropping either in our thread after or in there, I guess Patty was asking the names of the people that you have in that age bracket. So maybe she can just follow for some inspo.
Yeah, Chris Akeen. Chris Akeen is the one that's 55. So she's a good one. She's super solid. And the one that went emerald really fast, she ended up going really fast, and like then not, she was kind of like a flighty, fly by the seat of your pants kind of fun person, and had a ton of money, and really just like, she went emerald really fast and didn't stick with it. But Chris is a solid person to follow. So thank you guys.
Brooke,
And if you haven't, if you are struggling with time, I know Kim has told a lot of you about it. Sign up for my Mastering Time workshop, where I'm going to go over the 4 pillars of time management. And you'll get a deeper understanding of how to manage your time and how to create the life and the business that you love in these 4 pillars, and to live in alignment for you, which is different. Your alignment is different than my alignment. It's different than Chelsea's. Like, we're all going to be a little bit different, but these pillars are like true pillars of time mastery that I think will help you if you're struggling with this.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for that. I think a lot of us are doing it. So thank you, Brooke, for your time. It was incredible.
Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
You too. Bye, guys.